Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Vilakazi. Welcome to everyone. This is the first of our Amasa Forum series that we'll be having every month. Sometimes it will be every two weeks, every week, depending on how fast we get relevant topics on the line. And then one other thing that we just need to bring across is that Amasa will be communicating their initiatives using various platforms that we usually use for Amasa. So today we are talking customer experience in the new era. I don't want to say in COVID-19 because I think we've had a lot of COVID-19 in April. So this is the new normal that will be kind of like conducting our Amasa forums in. And I would like to welcome Dr. Vilakazi from Kanta. She's the customer experience consultant. And I think when I talk about consultant, what comes to my mind is the type of people that she consult with, the type of companies that she consult with. And I think when she does the introduction, because I just want her to give us a little bit of background about her and the customer experience aspect of what she does specifically. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Andrew and Amasa, for inviting me for this session. I know it's one of your first, so I feel quite good that I've been used as the guinea pig for this session, and I'm quite happy about that. You know, you will always remember me as the person who came and joined you online for the first time. So that's a good honor to have, and for choosing me for that. Yeah, so I'm with Kanta, and I'm a customer experience consultant there. My background is, I'm also an academic as well. As you can see, I'm Dr. Vilakazi, means I love books. I love exploring and understanding things in detail. So my background is in organizational development and strategy. So what I do for companies, different companies that we work with as Kanta, we consult for them on how to put together a customer experience strategy. From what a lot of companies that we work with, we've realized that that's the missing link. Everybody, when they think about customer experience, they think about journey mapping, they think about touch point surveys that people do. You know, every time they contact a company, then they receive a survey that follows after that, and then they start thinking that that's customer experience. So we try and show our customers that customer experience is much broader. It's about the promise that you give your customers, which is usually integrated to the brand promise. And then how do you deliver that at each touch point? So each touch point includes even your advertising and marketing. It's not just frontline staff who are delivering the service that you would have decided. So it starts right at the top from a strategy perspective to say, as an organization, this is the kind of experience that we want our customers to see, to experience, or to feel. And then it goes throughout the organization to say, then at each and every department and touch point, how do you deliver that? So everybody is involved, and that's what we do as Kanta.
I like when you say everybody is involved, because I think it brings me to a point of collaboration across the communication ecosystem. Because if you look at customer experience, most of us hear about customer experience from a brand perspective, which means we think of it as something that resides in a marketing and brand space. And we know that for a campaign to take place or to fully launch, you have various stakeholders, your PR agency, your creative agency, your media agency, your media houses, and that provide a content platform in terms of whether it be traditional media or digital media. How is that collaboration coming? Because I think that's the most important part, especially when we look as where the track everything that we've been talking about, but not being able to implement fully. So what would you say collaboration in terms of other stakeholders in the ecosystem is like?
Yeah, and that's actually a big one. Eh? That's the biggest one that we've been, at least pre-COVID-19. I know you said no COVID-19 talk for today, but we can't ignore it. Before COVID-19, a lot of the work that we were doing was focusing on helping our customers or our clients to understand that it is an ecosystem and it involves everyone. It's about transforming your business to start gearing up to be customer centric. Customer centricity is not something that you just give to one department to run. It's everybody has to be involved, and because experience is about consistency. It's about just like a brand. You know, we've got brand architecture. We've got you will know when you see a brand that this is so and so brand, because the look and feel and everything that comes with it. Experience is exactly that. It's the feeling that should be felt in everything, that when you talk about a specific brand, you need to immediately sense what it feels like to be interacting with them. And you can only if everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet. So it can't be left to just one department. It's not a marketing thing. And the moment you start looking at it like that, you've missed the mark. It's what people, when they think about you, they must know exactly the feeling that they get when they interact with you, when they see your ads, when they see your staff members, how they carry themselves. Everything that has to do with that brand has to give them a certain experience. And it's crucial. Without everybody working together, you can't get it right. And one of the blessings, I think, of COVID-19 is that it has almost helped us in that preaching, because we've been preaching there, you know, that to help us or help our clients to realize that now there's no other way but to do things differently now. It was more difficult before because of the business has been operating for decades and many years, and they've been doing things in a certain way. And now you're asking them to break the silos that usually businesses are structured around and start thinking about the customer at the center. It's been very difficult to move businesses to start thinking like that because they are just used to the way they've always done things. But now with COVID, hopefully, because now COVID has everybody to do things differently. And then hopefully these conversations now would be easier to start realizing that, guys, the only way we can recover and come out after all of this is if we work together, collaborate effectively.
The other thing that I understand about customer experience, especially when it comes to the technology behind the scene, because I know that most of what customer experience delivers is dependent on the collection of customer data. You know, and when it comes to customer data, in some cases you find that there's issues of privacy, because I think for us as communication specialists to be able to be targeted and understand the consumers from A to Z, we have to rely on the data that we collect from them. And I think in some cases we know that the issue of privacy, you know, can be kind of forgotten, and you as a brand, you don't want to be seen as someone who's invading your customers' privacy. How do we kind of like make sure that brands use data, but at the same time it doesn't become a threat to their customers?
You know what, I actually think that when customers decide to interact with you, they've already given you permission to use the information that they've given you, because I mean they do leave information at every interaction that they do. Like there's data that customers keep with you, and I think they've given you permission to use the data for their benefit. It becomes a problem the moment you start using it to manipulate customers, and that's when then brand reputation will start coming in, because you're manipulating and customers can feel it. Even everybody has that built-in mechanism naturally to know when somebody is now manipulating you, that their interests are not they don't have your best interest at heart in whatever it is that they're doing. They will feel it. But as long as what you're using the information to improve things for the customer, they will actually appreciate it. It's actually annoying, for instance, that you bank with a certain bank. I'll use a banking because it's everything we do. Our lives are centered around banks. You bank with a specific bank, for instance, they've got a whole lot of information about you. And yet, if you were to try and apply for a different product than the one that you have, suddenly you have to give information again. They want your ID again. They want this again. They want you, when you are interacting, you are transacting, you're leaving information with them that they could be using so that next time you are looking for service, it's easier for them. They know who you are because literally they know who you are. But because they don't have mechanisms in place to mine that data in a meaningful way, in a way that promotes the experience, then it falls flat. But it's not an issue. I don't think privacy is an issue the moment I've interacted with you and I've given you permission that I'm with you and I'm committed to you and we are partners in this, but use the information responsibly to my benefit, not just for your own interest.
The other aspect that I want to kind of like get clarity on, it's that of a return on investment, because I know that with customer experience, you are able to leverage every touch point, like you mentioned in the beginning, every touch point of the consumer journey. And, nowadays, every brief that comes out when it comes to campaign time, the brief will talk about return on investment. And one thing that I kind of like struggle with is how that return on investment is measured, especially given different aspects of touch points that are there. Because I know that the client will probably have an idea as to how they've arrived at the return on investment answer in terms of them being able to measure every aspect internally. But some of the aspect of the touch points, you find that they're not linked to whatever architecture that customer experience from a brand or marketing department has. So the return on investment aspect, what's your take on it, especially given the fact that some of the touch points won't be able to be measured in some cases?
Yeah, I think that the question of return on investment, we've unfortunately associated it with financials. So we think of it like I buy this and then it returns me this much. I buy this for X and it returns me Y. But when it comes to customer experience specifically, it tends to be about, you need to rethink it, because return on investment is about, you had, for instance, a process or a journey that was broken, that customers, each time customers interacted with you using that journey, they felt annoyed and disappointed, and they decided that, you know what, I'll rather buy from someone else than you. So you lose customers because of this broken journey that you have. So when you fix that journey and customers start interacting with you seamlessly and you make it easy for them to engage with you, that's the return on investment. It might not come immediately. You might not see the financials immediately, but it's only a matter of time before it builds up. But the return, you need to look at the return as, what improvements have you made in relation to customer? What are customer now saying after you've fixed or you've invested in a specific, in improving specific processes and journeys?
Yeah, I think that's very interesting, because I mean, a brand doesn't only gain return on investment on sales, it also gains return on investment on equity. And in most cases, those are the aspects, like equity, you can't just measure it right away. And I think, I'm saying this because I've been on the agency side, I'm now on the media owner side. So I know that every time when there's a kind of interaction, when it comes to briefs and proposals, the issue of return on investment is always the one which is emphasized. And I think it would be great if marketers and brand managers can understand that a return can be measured not just right away, but in many other aspects. And I think at this moment, I just want to check with Patrick if he's got any questions from our other platforms. Pat, can you hear me?
Yes, Brian. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want you to pick some of the questions for us.
We've got a question here from Antonia. She's asking, where, in your view, I think she's referring to the doctor's view, should customer experience sit in an organization, and why?
Did you pick that up, Doctor?
Yes, it's actually the CEO. It should be sit under the CEO. It should be a direct responsibility of the CEO, because without that, unfortunately, we live in a time where people are no longer buying products. They're no longer just coming to you because you've got a better product than the next person. It's now about how do you deliver that product. So customer centricity is now at the center of everything. We've always said that. I mean, businesses have always been designed around having specific customers, but the emphasis on the power that the customer has we've only seen it in recent years. It wasn't always there. Customers at some point, they will just come and you tell them through your marketing that you've got the brilliant product, it's the best in the market. They believe you, they can't buy it, they don't get the value that they thought they would get. They just put it aside and they move on to the next thing, and you still, you don't lose anything. Now the customers have power, direct power. Social media has come into play as one of the enablers in that power. People talk now. You have actually a huge reputational issues if you're selling things that do not deliver on what you said they would deliver. So it's a challenge, and that's why customer experience needs to move towards CEO responsibility. So the customer experience executive or whoever is called in the organization has to have a direct line to the CEO.
Very interesting, because I think when I hear the word CEO, I'm asking myself, where is the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer? Because I think, as an ecosystem, you worry about the declining advertising spend or marketing budget shifting somewhere else, especially into the CIO, Chief Information Officers and stuff like that. So I would like to kind of see how the CMO role in this CX aspect is, because I think for me, as most of the agency partners have a kind of direct link with the CMO rather than the CEO. So yeah, and I think I've read an article where it was kind of emphasized that CX sits with the CEO, and then I asked myself, why not the CMO? But I think that's a good answer. Pat, is there another question from your side?
Yes, Brian Andrew, we have another question from Antonia. She's asking, where is that question? Okay, can you share where you have successfully implemented a CX strategy?
Where? No, we have various clients, and we don't always talk about the work that we do with our clients unless they've given us permission. But most of the work that we do, we speak directly to, or we try as much as we can, because sometimes it's about what the preaching that I was mentioning earlier on, just getting our customers to get to the understanding that customer experience is a strategy that sits at from board level to CEO to executive level, and no longer the responsibility of somebody who's looking after a specific channel, who will then drive customer experience through those channels. It's no longer a silo thing. It's now something that is driven from the top And it's a strategy that is integrated to the entire strategy of the business. So most of our clients are at that level. So we speak to them at that senior level. And then we also then have, because we do the touch point work as well, so touch point research as well. So we do have clients that sometimes then they sit at the lower levels where they are concerned by tactically, how are they performing in their channels and how do they manage their staff at those levels of the channels. So we tend to have deal with stakeholders in a typical organization at different levels. But ideally, we like to spend most of our time at executive level, because that's where everything usually starts and gets filtered down, especially if you're talking about transforming organizations to start becoming more customer-centric. Various clients.
Well, I think it's very interesting, because I mean, to me, the data insights that comes from the organization in terms of understanding the customer, it's kind of like more powerful than what other stakeholders have in terms of waiting for, let's say, for instance, industry research. You know, sometimes the industry research takes 6 months to come true, whereas customer experience in the organization can deliver the insights timelessly. And I think if we are able to make sure that, for instance, creative agencies, media agencies, PR agencies, and other stakeholders are able to access the data and the insights that come from customer experience, then we will see more effective campaigns being launched out there. Pat, checking with you again. Any questions?
Yes, Bro Andrew, we do have a couple of questions. We'll take one from Anonymous. In line with the topic, what are the trends that you are seeing in customer experience?
Over to you, Doctor.
Yeah, right now the trend is looking inwards. I mean, the lockdown has really, it has shaken us. Us as consultants, for instance, a lot of the work that we do is face-to-face. And because of the lockdown, we've had to pause. And same with our clients, they've done the same thing. Because of some of the services that they offer, they are considered non-essential services. So they've had to pause some of the work that gets done. So the trend has been then, what do you do then when you have to pause? Because it's threatening your livelihood and the business itself. So a lot of the trends at the moment has been trying to protect your business. And how do you do that? You protect your business by identifying the main pillars that make up your business, and do away with some that don't really matter that much when it comes to survival tactics for the business. And the biggest one has been your employees. Most of our clients, and some of the trends that we've been observing, is that companies have been focusing a lot on employee experience. You know, and understanding that at the moment, one, you want to keep going and provide for your employees financially. You know, making sure that you still have salaries, you can still pay their salaries, and then also for those types of services that could go and be done at home. For instance, you've had to, our clients have had to make sure that you are enabling them, you know, to be able to function remotely, and also just emotionally, making sure that you understand the anxiety that we all in. I mean, we're all in this together. No one has been here before, so we're all trying to navigate the space as best as we can. And as companies, you want to make sure that you come across as a caring company. You don't want your staff members to be feeling like they're feeling alone at this moment. So more organizations have been focusing on that, making sure that they're taking their employees along in this journey. And by doing that, you're protecting your business in the future, because that's your critical pillar that will ensure that you survive post the lockdown. You have your staff members that are key to delivering the services that you offer are still there and they're intact and they feel that they've been taken care of. And empathy has been a big thing, making sure that you come across as a caring company. One, mainly to your staff, they feel that they've been taken care of, but then also then to the community at large. You know, it's been very important for brands to position themselves as, or to, even if it's not necessarily positioning for the sake of positioning, but going back to basics and being purpose-led as a brand, to say, what do we stand for? And how do we make sure that whatever it is that we stand for is felt to by communities at large, not just our direct customers. So the trend has really been going back to basics and understanding the connectedness during this time, and being human during this time, and making sure that you're emphasizing empathy in everything that you do, and caring in everything that you do.
I think that's very interesting, because I think this COVID-19, it means it's just a wake-up call to prepare us for another phenomenon that might come through. And, you know, I think a lot of business realize that the minute you are not considered an essential service, it means you can't do anything. But if you have a customer experience system in place that can still communicate with your consumers as well as your employees, it's going to be easy, because you know that you still have communication lines open with these individuals, unlike what happened in April, where everything was shut down and you didn't know anything as to why brands are pulling campaigns off, you know, and it was just scary. And I think it's your input, it makes sense. Pat, another one?
Yeah.
Yes, we have a question from Lee. He's asking, are there any transformations witnessed in the township consumer markets? I think this is in respect to customer experience.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Are there any transformation?
Are there any transformations witnessed in the township consumer markets?
Oh, okay. That's an interesting one, because Kanta, we have an emerging market specialist at Kanta, Jack Tlongwane. He's very passionate about township market and how big brands tend to forget that market, that we, especially from a customer experience perspective, that most of the time, big brands, they just want their money, but they don't care how they deliver the services to them. And he's written a nice paper, and I loved the line. There's one line he put there in that paper, that when the rest of the world went online, the emerging market people, they went to queue, you know, because that's how they receive their services. They went on queues, long queues, which are quite frankly can be dangerous, because social distancing is not normally as well observed in those spaces. So yeah, we've done research around that. They've been badly affected. I mean, all of us have been affected when it comes to COVID-19, but in emerging markets specifically, it's been tougher for them, because they tend to be forgotten by everyone, unfortunately. You know, it's and right now, the COVID-19 has indicated the disparities from income levels, and how people can be affected differently depending on how much money they make or earn. And what we've seen in the study that has been done by Kanta is that it's the lower end of the market, which we've termed them the millionaires, they've been badly affected by that. So that's what we've observed. So there's an onus on brands to start looking at omni-channels kind of strategies when you're thinking about customer experience. You know, don't only focus on digital. I mean, there's let's go e-commerce. You know, let's go digital and start delivering all our services digitally. And then we forget that there's a big market out there that does not have access to these kind of digital mechanisms that we sometimes use, and they get left behind, which is not so good. So if you are a brand that is sensitive to those kind of issues, or that is predominantly servicing that market, You just need to make sure that your customer experience and channel strategy includes omni-channel.
That's very interesting, because I think one of the beneficiaries of this lockdown were mostly e-commerce platforms, because if you look at the fact that people were trying to stay as much away from supermarkets and malls, a lot of e-commerce platforms started to experience some boom in business. But most of the brands obviously are not e-commerce ready. And I think this is just another wake-up call to say, make sure that next time you are e-commerce ready. And e-commerce is not just a standalone, obviously. It comes from a customer journey that you need to understand. And I think customer experience as well plays a big role on that one.